I was asked this question while having a conversation about the dysfunction in the African community. What's the first step towards improving the lives of African people? Okay, this may come as a surprise to many, but it seems that there's been an ongoing global tradition to condition Africans to believe their lives matter less than the polar opposite European lives. The ways that have been most effective in this conditioning is through everyday words and through propaganda. If you know how to use propaganda, you can put mental chains on an entire culture and create a self-conditioning mindset that will last for millennia. A perfect example of that is how we use the words black and white. Open any dictionary. In the expressions we use daily, outside of the definition of color, we can see all these negative definitions of black that don't mean the same thing, but they've still been grouped under the umbrella of the same word. Alright, now I know I'm not some super brain or anything, but it seems like people don't even try to pay attention to how words are used. If I walked around and said hamburger every time I wanted to say these 10 words that meant 10 different things, people would say I was crazy. It's like watching a real-life episode of the Smurfs. Every time they use the word Smurf, you have to try to decipher what the heck they were talking about. This is how we use the word black. Every time I hear someone say something negative and use the word black or dark, I immediately want to flip them off. Because I know that whether they intend to or not, they associate black with bad or evil. Then at the same time, they'll look at me and call me black. I can only imagine if we look beyond their misguided language to see what was really in their minds, we will probably find what's at the heart of every white supremacist on the planet. This goofball thinks white is good and black is bad. Flip this fool off. Of course, I'm sane and civilized, so I don't do or say these things out loud, but if y'all could only see what's going on in my head when I hear this crap falling out of somebody's face. The bias that is so prevalent in our world is exhausting. Even the voice recognition software that I'm using while I'm writing this does not pick up what I'm saying correctly if I don't have the most proper European pronunciation on each freaking word. And don't let me go into AI art or anything else artificially generated. The racial bias and conditioning in our world has a clear agenda to tip the balances in favor of Europeans. The freaking software heard me say your pants instead of Europeans. I swear I can't make this up. Sounds like some crap in a movie, but I digress. Getting back to the point, all the words under the definition of black don't mean the same thing. So, how can you use one word to mean so many things unless you want this word to just be a blanket over whatever is negative? Examples of the definitions are without hope or alleviation, dirty or soiled, resentful, hateful, evil, and one that still baffles me is deserving of censure. That one can slip by people if you don't look up what censure is. Censure means punishment. So, deserving of punishment is one of the definitions under the word black. Tell me this is not done to condition minds. If you have these negative definitions and then call people the word those definitions fall under, what the hell is going on? We all can see that without hope or alleviation does not mean the same as dirty or soiled. Angry and resentful do not mean the same as dirty or soiled or even without hope. And they especially don't mean the same as causing or deserving dishonor or censure. We are being brainwashed, people. From the time we were born, we were taught how to perceive black and white. We've been made to believe that the dark is scary, and as a result, we subconsciously believe that dark people are scary too. But here's the real kicker. African people make some of the best white supremacists. Too many Africans will run to get service from a European instead of another African because they think they'll get something better. Too many Africans will disregard the information from another African to listen to a European even if they know it sounds off. All a European has to do is look the part. But he's rich, he's a businessman, he's good for the country. Too many Africans say things like, you can't give niggas nothing, or niggas ain't shit. Break out of the brainwashing, people. There's no reason for us to say when we're in a bad mood that we're in a dark mood or in a dark period in our lives, unless we want to promote white supremacy. We call the traffic of illegal goods the black market. We call extortion blackmail. When you shun someone, you blackball them. We have words to fit all these things so we don't have to use black or dark over and over again. The propaganda is real. If you really look at it, the dark is more peaceful. You turn off the lights to rest. You go into darkness to have peace and be calm. When the light comes on, chaos ensues. OMG. The bias in this voice recognition software is picking up the name Suze in shoes and in suits. Can a NIA even get recognition out of his phone app? It even missed me saying, can a nigger get recognition? so slow and enunciated that to miss it seems otherworldly inspired. I won't even go back and put in the corrections because I can rant all day about bias in technology. Back to the subject. Far more evil transpires in the light than in the dark. More violence, more thievery, more of every crime. Traditionally, wars are fought at the break of dawn. Does anybody ever wonder why it's called dark magic when most of the people that we see practicing it are called white? Black actually doesn't represent something negative or evil. It represents peace, it represents stillness, it represents quiet, it represents a time to reflect. Don't accept using black, dark, or shade to describe something negative. Don't accept people using them in place of the worst things that they could possibly say. There was a time when black meant divinity. There was a time when black meant power. Look at the religions of the world. A good portion of the ancient religions have used black figures as their deities, as their gods. Europe has several black Madonnas. Different European countries have different black Madonnas. Krishna used to be depicted with black skin. Originally, Buddha is depicted with traditional African features. Greeks painted Zeus's skin black alongside white-skinned figures from their pantheon. You can find Heracles painted black or have African features in artwork. And no, I didn't mispronounce Hercules. Heracles was his actual name. The name Heracles is derived from Heru, which was another name for Horus, an African god in Egypt. The word hero even comes from Heru, the African god. Of course, there was some African influence on the Greeks. They showed it in the names and depictions of their gods. There was so much greatness in ancient Africa that people didn't think Africans would ever leave their seats of power. An African scholar whose nickname was Al-Jahiz, meaning Big Eyes, wrote many books on various topics, but one in particular talked about the glory of Africans, the glory of the black people. He lived in a time where writers were cherished, so what they wrote had to have profound meaning to their culture. The 14th century African emperor of Mali, Mansa Musa, to this day, is still the richest man to have ever walked the planet. He is said to have been worth over $450 billion in today's money. His image was placed on the Catalan Atlas that has been in the French Royal Library since Charles V, the 14th century King of France. All of that was to outline the real reason to brainwash Africans into thinking that they were nothing, to think that they didn't deserve anything, and to make them never have a desire to go back and take what was theirs. The simple kidnapping of a people wasn't enough. They had to be conditioned to accept their fate. They had to be oppressed into accepting anything that they were given as if they deserved nothing more than the treatment you give cattle. We are a witness to how well propaganda works. Every day our minds are flooded with propaganda that portrays black as evil or just bad. Devil's food cake and angel food cake, the white hat and horse of the hero and the black hat, and horse of the villain, the pot calling, the kettle black is an implied accusation. Looking on the bright side is supposed to be good and dark clouds are supposed to be bad. Fair skin is lighter, but what is unfair skin? Black magic, black heart, black night, dark comedy, black humor, and always darkest before the dawn. We have to open our eyes to this propaganda and break the hold that it has over us because it has worked too well for too long. If we allow it to continue, we are now responsible for it working. We have the knowledge, we understand how people work on our psyche. It is no one else's fault. From this point forward, it is no one else's responsibility to break us out of the brainwashing. When you have the knowledge, you pass it on. When you have the knowledge, you take action. You do something with that knowledge to change your life and the lives of the people you care about. Each one, teach one. We can't forget that. So break out of the brainwashing. Stop accepting black as a term used for negativity. Stop accepting dark and shade as descriptions for something disgusting, grotesque, or morbid, when you have the words disgusting, grotesque, and morbid to use instead. These are not what black is. Don't let it pass, people. We know better. If you haven't already realized it, I call black people Africans and white people Europeans, the same as we call every other group the name of the region of the world that they come from. Why would we call Africans and Europeans anything else unless it's to promote white supremacy? We know the definitions. I love you, African people. Stay up. And if you liked this video, please hit the like and subscribe to see more videos that ignite brain cells.